thousands of people are planning to travel to Iceland for the 2026 solar eclipse, and most of them are making the same mistake. They are booking the perfect spot months in advance, thinking that guarantees they'll see it. Well, it doesn't. The truth is that in Iceland, locking yourself into one location is basically the fastest way to miss it. So before you spend thousands on accommodation, tours or events, here is what you actually need to know, which for some reason almost nobody is talking about. And by the end of this video, you'll know whether this trip is worth the risk and how to plan it properly if you decide it is. Right now, before we get into the problems with the eclipse, let's quickly talk about what's actually happening. On August 12, 2026, a total solar eclipse will pass over Western Iceland. And to be fair, this is a big deal. This will be the first total solar eclipse visible from Iceland since 1954, and Reykjavik hasn't seen totality since 1433. And so yes, when people say that this is rare, they are not exaggerating. The path of totality will cross places like Reykjavik, Reykjanes, Snæfellsnes and the Westfjords, but not every location gets the same experience. Reykjavik gets just over 1 minute of totality. Keflavik gets around 1 minute and 40 seconds. Many places on Snæfellsnes get around 2 minutes, depending on exactly where you are. And the longest totality on land will be around Lautrabjarg in the Westfjords, where it should last around 2 minutes and 14 seconds. And so yes, the Westfjords technically give you the longest totality on land, but we are not talking about the difference between 1 minute and 10 minutes. In many cases, we are talking about chasing an extra few seconds. And that's also where people start making their first mistake. In Iceland, the best place on the eclipse map is not automatically the best place to actually watch the eclipse. Because the map only tells you where the eclipse will happen. It does not tell you where the sky will be clear. And that brings us to the biggest problem with this entire event: clouds. Because with a solar eclipse, location only matters if you can actually see the sky. On the bright side, August is one of the best months to travel in Iceland. The weather is usually more mild, most places are easily accessible, and it is one of the most popular months for a reason. But August in Iceland also does not mean clear skies. According to 20 years of data from the Icelandic Met Office, the average chance of clear or partly clear skies around the eclipse time in August is roughly 25% if you are staying in one place. And so even though the eclipse will happen, seeing it clearly from just one fixed location, that's quite a gamble. And this is also why being mobile matters so much. The chance can increase significantly if you are willing and able to move based on the forecast. It is estimated that being mobile can actually increase your chance of seeing clear or partly clear skies to roughly 50%. Still not guaranteed, but much better than locking yourself into one place and just hoping for the best. And if you have watched my Northern Light videos, then this is basically the same problem. The Northern Lights can be going absolutely crazy above you, but if the sky is covered in clouds, that you are not seeing anything. A solar eclipse is obviously a bit different, because even with clouds, it may still get suddenly dark during totality. But if the sky is covered, you might completely miss the thing you actually came here to see. And honestly, this is also why I don't like the idea of people booking one expensive location, event or tour and treating it like they have secured the eclipse. Because in reality, they have secured a place inside of the path of totality and obviously not a clear sky. And in Iceland, the weather can be completely different from one area to another, and you might have clouds in Reykjavik but clear skies on Snæfellsnes or vice versa. So the real question is not just where does totality last the longest. The real question is, where do I have the best chance of actually seeing the sky when it happens? Now, the weather is the biggest gamble, but it's not the only one. The second problem is logistics, because a lot of the places people are looking at for the eclipse are basically not designed for massive crowds. And this is especially true in the Westfjords. On paper, Lautrabjarg looks like one of the best places to be, because it gets the longest totality on land. So naturally, it will probably draw a lot of attention. And honestly, I originally thought about going there myself, but also the more I thought about it, the more I realized that a lot of other people are probably going to have the exact same idea. And if you've actually been to Lautrabjarg, you know this is not some easy roadside viewpoint with a huge parking lot and a highway leading straight to it. It's remote, it's a longer drive than many people expect, and the gravel roads leading there are quite narrow in places. And so if thousands of people all suddenly decided this is the best place to watch the eclipse, then it can become a serious bottleneck very quickly. And that's why for me personally, Lautrabjarg is probably one of the places that I'll be removing from my own list of potential viewing spots. Not because it wouldn't be incredible, it absolutely could be, it is one of the most spectacular places in Iceland, but really because the combination of crowds, narrow roads and limited infrastructure basically just makes it a much bigger gamble than it looks on map. And there are even already plans for traffic management in some areas, including temporary one-way systems on roads around Lautrabjarg and Røydesandur. Authorities may even restrict private cars in some places and use shuttle buses instead if needed. And so this idea that you'll just wake up on the day of the eclipse and check where the weather looks the best and just casually drive to the perfect spot, well, this might become tricky, especially if everyone else is trying to do the exact same thing. And this is not only a Westfjords problem. Snaffelsnes is also going to be extremely busy, especially around the most popular places. Reykjanes will likely be busy too, because it's close to the airport, close to Reykjavik, and easy for people to reach. And this is already showing up with the accommodation too, and many places, especially those in the path of totality, are either sold out or extremely expensive. And there have already been reports from travelers saying their bookings were cancelled. And then the same places appeared again at much higher prices. Now I want to be careful here because I'm not saying that every host is doing this, but it does show how much pressure this event is already putting just on accommodation alone. So even if you rent a car and stay flexible, you still need to understand that flexibility has limits. In certain areas, especially small towns and remote viewing points, the infrastructure will most likely get overwhelmed. And that's also why this whole thing is not as simple as just go wherever the totality lasts longest, because the place with longest totality may also be the place with the hardest logistics. And so how should you actually plan this? This is where timing matters a lot. Luckily, the eclipse happens at a pretty favorable time of the day. The partial eclipse starts at around 4:50 PM, totality happens around 5:50 PM, and the whole thing ends just before 7 PM. And so yeah, in theory, depending on where you are staying, you may be able to decide where exactly to go watch the eclipse the day before instead of months in advance, or even make the final call on August 12th after checking the latest weather forecast. Now, what does that mean in terms of driving? For example, if you are staying in Reykjavik and the weather looks better on Snaffelsnes, that's around a 3-hour drive in normal conditions, which is very realistic if you leave early and plan properly. But if you are staying in Reykjavik and suddenly decide to drive all the way to Lautrabjarg in the Westfjords, that's a completely different story. That can be around 6 hours of driving in normal conditions, and probably more on eclipse day, with the expected traffic and restrictions. And so unless you are already staying in that area or close to it, or you are planning to spend more time in the Westfjords anyway, chasing Lautrabjarg just because it has slightly longer totality doesn't really make sense, at least not for most people. In theory, people who have booked accommodation somewhere in West Iceland may actually have the best leverage here, because they are not locked into Reykjavik, Snaffelsnes or the Westfjords. And that gives them more flexibility to make a final call based on the forecast, instead of being stuck in one corner of the country. And this is also where a camper van can make a lot of sense, because instead of being tied to one hotel booking, you have a lot more flexibility with where you sleep. Now, this does not mean that you can just park wherever you want in Iceland. You still need to use proper campsites, and those campsites may also get pretty busy at the day of the eclipse. But then also for an event like this, having a camper van can actually be a huge advantage. And if you are looking into that, I'll leave my discount code for happy campers below. So for me personally, if the weather lines up, I would love to try to go to the Westfjords as a plan A, simply because I just love that area and I can camp, and I'll be going for more than just the eclipse. But one thing I already know for sure is that I'm probably not going to one of the famous viewpoints that every article and every blog is listing as the best eclipse spot. Because that's exactly where everyone else will go, and I would much rather find a quieter place, maybe even hike somewhere and just experience it away from hundreds of other people standing in the same parking lot. Where exactly, I honestly don't know yet, but I'll most likely narrow it down to 3 possible options before the eclipse. One near the capital, one somewhere on Snaffelsnes, and one in the Westfjords. With an event like this in Iceland, the smartest plan is not necessarily having one perfect spot locked in months in advance, but having enough flexibility to make the final decision when the forecast actually matters. At least that's how I'm thinking about it. Alright, so here is my honest opinion. Should you come to Iceland for the 2026 solar eclipse? Yes, but only with the right expectations. Because if the weather works out, this could genuinely be one of the most incredible travel experiences of your life. A total solar eclipse over Icelandic landscapes? Honestly, that would be something else. But the mistake here is building a trip that only works if the eclipse goes perfectly. If you spend thousands of dollars on one expensive place, lock yourself into one exact spot, and treat this like a guaranteed show, then you are setting yourself up for possible disappointment. So the way I would think about it is really simple. Just come to Iceland because you want to experience Iceland, and then treat the eclipse as a cherry on top. And if you want help planning that kind of trip, I'll leave my Iceland guide below. It includes my map of favorite places around the country, so you can build a trip that still makes sense, eclipse or no eclipse. And if the eclipse works out too, well, that's a huge bonus and probably something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Oh yeah, and if you are serious about planning your Iceland trip properly, then this is the video that I'll watch next.